Welcome back to the channel, K.O.D.E Space Cadets. It's the leader of the Cosmic Armada, Wolf Nara, back to bring you another review. This was not only a symbolic episode, but could lead to some devastating events, not only for our main cast, but the world itself. Now, this review will not have a recap portion, but if you want to see future reviews with the recap portion, be sure to type down below where's my recap. I'm doing it this way in order to switch things up slightly on the channel, so if you find the contents of the video helpful or entertaining, be sure to like the video. Let me know your thoughts down below, and without further ado, let's talk about episode 140 title. Now, this is a double meaning title. Most would consider this as Zahara hiding her shadow in Shay's pure soul as he commands her to reveal herself. However, the first meaning is more immediate. Now, the title first part is Shay's frustration of not being able to save Luis, as Elio states even with his great might, he won't be able to pierce the Interium Dome. Now, this leads into a later part of the video where I theorize the Interior Dome and other void type talent and its connection to the ether. In the beginning of the episode, we are shown Vaal's symbolic representation in fear as he hides in a small crevice of the forest. This is not only a representation of Vaal's desperation, since Brent enjoys showing parallel, it also shows Shay's rage as well, as he tries his hard to get to Vaal, not only in order to save Luis, but avenge his master, Yorn, as well. But Vaal is in a place where Shay can't even get to. Now, we will go deeper into this topic in the Wolf versus Bat segment. The second part is Zahara attempting to hide herself in the shadow of one's soul. This reminds me of doubt and how it affects Ichigo in the world, meaning as of now, Shay does not doubt himself and there is no shadow in his soul, which is why Zahara could only hide her form but not her shadow. Although Zahara is being blocked, Shay refused to have his soul corrupted by any darkness, even if this darkness is his destined weapon, which would make me think that everyone has a hidden part of their soul that Noragiri used to completely corrupt it. If we look at the water of the realm, we see Noragiri is pure darkness. This reflects her verboten chi, also known as cursed chi. If you not remember episode 124 titled Noragiri's Desire, also reflecting its corruption as well. Next, we have Thanatos chi reflecting the color of purple and blue. Now, purple is a combination of red and blue. Red being rage towards humans being dominated, and blue reflecting some sort of sadness. You could say this is due to his brother's betrayal, which is also more apparent in the murky waters, showing he is leaning towards letting his sadness and rage fuel who he is as a person. Last, we have Shay, who water is clear with a bright light, going to show his purity. Even if he does not want to commit such atrocity, he is living in his purpose, but not only that, he is staying true to himself as well, and his soul realm reflects it. Now, with the title broken down, let's move on to the next segment of the episode. The beginning of the episode begins with the bat in fear as it hides in its habitat. Now take heed of the location of the bat itself. It is an enclosed space. We have substantial evidence to conclude that this is a symbolic representation of Vaal inside the dome of Ngaimeki, which is the easy part. Now let's look at the details of the situation at hand. Vaal is alone in this setting. There's only him, going to show his disconnection between him and others like him, since bats are both solitary and social creatures. Even in his dark hole, he still has the moonlight. If we look outside for a moment, it seems to be brighter, but taking into account the first part of the symbolic representation of the wolf and bat. In the episode Wolf Knows Doth Know, we see that it's already nighttime. I did say in that review that Shay is the only wolf ready to pounce, in which we see that continuing in this scene. Even under the veil of night, where Vaal feels the most confident, his anxiety is on full display for the reader. As he peeks outside, we see the forest as the wolf representing Shay's desperation to stop Vaal is now ringing through the ether, and as Mahalil tells Shay to calm down, this episode is the perfect imagery of Shay's emotional effect on the ether. Now, Shay has wanted to hunt down Vaal for a while. He is at his most desperate, and that is represented by the claw swing. As he finds Vaal's hiding spot, he uses his king smelling ability to pinpoint that hiding spot, as we see in episode 138. As he is unable to get to Vaal, he calms down as his anger is apparent, which reflects the statement of Mahalil telling him that his wrath can be felt, so it is best to calm his heart because every Kimio can feel his emotions. We then shift back to Luis and him asking Vaal about his anxiety with the reality of death being only minutes away from him. Luis makes a statement on Vaal's death not only reflects that Luis has embraced death while Vaal runs from it. Although Luis accepts death, he will still miss his loved ones. The weight of being a clan head he has always felt is even more apparent now. As he forms the death stance, his confidence is at a maximum, but as the battle rages on, he has accepted the burden of the last being the first. We even have the statement that he makes to Tevin where he asks who will protect Azam since Azam is protecting Yukiko. We even get another acknowledgement of the acceptance acceptance when he is willing to die to ensure that Shay feels the least amount of anguish, because up until this point Leo had attempted to prepare them for Louis' death. Leo foreshadowed the very feeling of his cubs and only prepped them for their destiny, which is why it was only right for Leo to be the one to come down and see Louis rather than those of the ashes from the father. Now Louis asking Vaal if he's afraid to die sends Vaal deep in thought and brings him back to the early part of his life that he so desperately clings to. In Vaal past, we see the passage that was shown back in episode 100. Typically in manga, episode 100 is also a benchmark, so let's go back to episode 100 to give 141 scene a little bit more context. Now Vaal loses his patience with Yorn and Shay's conversation, taking up his time as he interrupts them saying, "I've heard enough leaving so soon, Mahalel." As Mahalel responds direct, "You had a choice, Vaal, but you chose to turn your back on those you knew." As Vaal is shook, Mahalel says, "Never forget their prayer for you is the only reason you still breathe." As the man appears in golden ore, as Vaal's last sentiment until episode 141 was, "The old man is dead, and as is my past." Now this man reads a passage from the Bible saying, "For God hath not given us spirit of fear, but of power and of love, sound mind." As he translates it as bravery, knowing that God is on our side, we should be bold like lions, nothing should frighten us, as he asks what the kids are afraid of. Now Vaal's statement is the most melancholy of them all, as he simply says death. In the eyes of Lilia, he seems to be fearless and not afraid of anything. Vaal continues with, "Humans have everything, but we Kimios can take it all if we really wanted to. But Papa said that's wrong. This is why we wait. But it should be a shame to die before seeing how much I can take from them if I tried." Although the saying is short, Vaal at this point in his life has already lost so much. As everyone is seeking comfort in faith, he seeks comfort in monetary gain. Now although he is gazing outside under the night of the moon, he is still listening intently, even telling them how he truly feels, albeit wrong morally from our societal standpoint. However, if we take into account, he said humans have everything, going to show you his deeply seated resentment, but also the pain he has gone through in the past. The one of having the Kimio race on the top of the food chain like humans was in the past left him with the mindset of either you're with me or against me. But Mahalel knowing Vaal from his buried past and Mahalel using their instead of his in this statement, showing that even Lillian, the one he looked at as his little sister, maybe have died as well in search of Vaal's ideal. He wants to be comfortable himself, yes, but it's more about his race rather than himself, giving us the foundation to the character that is Vaal. The need for a family, as we see him with his former family, gives us a lot more credence to that specific characteristic. This one for a family and the way he loses them shapes why he provides chi expansion to those weaker than him, giving so much love and value to the Gaki, because not only do they become bonded through blood transfusion, but also they have the strength to defend themselves when he is not around. We know this because of how quick Hanzo calls the Gaki back from the 9th Brian Lara Stadium explosion and during the Migdale descent upon Earth through Ian. Vaal is a wonderful crafted character, so when the season ends, be expecting a Vaal Vajrazata explain video first, and then a Vaal Vajrazata is misunderstood as well. Now Shay becoming consumed with sadness and rage, when Mahalel tells him to calm down because everyone can feel how he's feeling through the ether, and in the meantime, since he cannot do anything to come to him. As Shay enters his soulscape, for lack of a better term, Mahalel can only worry about Thanatos' next move after realizing he's just absorbed the chi of 3 pillars. As Shay completely disregards Thanatos' grand display, since Vaal is near the people he's fighting so hard to protect, he can only focus on Vaal in this moment. This is typical of his character, however, Brent set this scene up perfectly with the symbology of the wolf and bat in the beginning of the episode. Now Shay asks if Mahalel could break the Interium Dome to allow him to gain access to it, as he says no, but that they are in another void altogether. This reminds me of Thanatos entering the soulscape due to having a connection to Shay's body, meaning that there could be a holy barrier that affects individual talents in the ether, and that could be the chi limit itself. If we take a look at the metaphysical concepts of what's happening when a talent affects another, first example on a smaller scale is Teva and Yorn hide coding, where they are able to put their hides on another person, and this way the Kimio links their chi to that person of choice. This acts as a link between the person's soul to manifest the talent, acting as a sub-pipeline of the ether, meaning the source of chi will have to still come from the person casting the technique, where they will funnel chi in small traces of the talent for this to work. Void seems to encompass a Kimio and his talent, warping them inside the Void talent itself, which is what happened to Luis and Sabito. However, the link to the ether for the Kimio is still there. We do get a statement of Vaal saying if his chi can reach him in his Void, then ... also getting cut off back in episode 138. Now, this is a statement we can assume that if Chi can touch it, it is using the pop line of the ether, and you giving Shay Chi has no limit, being connected to the ether itself, giving him a connection to not only the heavenly plane but also to individual souls. If he can use his Chi to affect another person through the ether, he can essentially cut through that pipeline of the Chi, funneling the Kimio's void talent, thus allowing him access to other void talent realms. Granted, this may be a bit unlikely, but fun to speculate nonetheless. What are your thoughts on how Shay could pierce voids in the future? Now, Mahalel states that Shay has to check his heart first, as Mahalel is on guard of Shay's heart, and says they will appear before him, but he blocks the view of that shadow. As Shay approaches the shadow, an entirely different problem occurs. Now, this dialogue is important, so let's go through it. Mahalel says the pillar wants to know where his heart lies, as Shay approaches, saying, "You've come to see and you've seen. There are no secrets to dwell here," and that goes for you as well. "Remove your veil and show me who you truly are. Show me your face, Zahara." Showing Zahara as a living talent weapon. This interaction has a lot to dissect about Zahara and her ability in the story thus far. Now, given that she is Shay's anointed weapon, she may have been given a soul for a desired purpose. We see Hasame from the Heart Clan, who was also a living talent of the Heart Clan, given the task to protect them. Once the Savior was born, the task will be passed down to Yukiko through Sabito's choices, but given the divine implication, it would be more to protect Yukiko for Shay to focus on his goal. Now, I do want to say it may not be the case for Kong or Karen, but those characters are yet to be fleshed out. Now, in episode 79, we see Andrea attempt to tame Neragiri. Her dialogue says that this is a battle of mind with Chi as a weapon. Ultimately, she loses. The next time she wields it, she struggles to maintain herself, showing that the soul is taking over the Kimio to use the body. This will have given us a hint to Zahara being a living talent weapon. Given that Zahara has a physical form, Shay has no Chi limit. He was able to subjugate the legendary weapon against his will. Now, given the size of the blade, Zahara's Chi limit should be relative to her original size, showing us why Andrea was not able to control the weapon. This would lead me to assume that living talent weapons may be the next upgrade for Andrea. When we look at the Noragiri and Shay sneak peek we get during the season break, we can conclude that Andrea is still going to use Zahara to some degree, but due to us getting Zahara's true form first, it'll lead me to assume that Shay tasked her to protect Andrea, similar to Yukiko and Hasame. When I do the Zahara video, I will go into detail on the difference between the talent weapon and living talent weapons in relation to Andrea's talent, so be sure to look out for that. My favorite panel art vibes will be the very last panel, seeing the lament and disgust Zahara has on her face when looking at Shay. I assume due to it being his destined weapon, it followed him, but based on the look, it would be something further from the truth. Anyway, this is all I got for this review. Let me know if you enjoyed the structure of this review and if you made it to the end of the video. Comment your thoughts down below, but besides that, enjoy your day, night, or evening, Space Cadets. Be safe, fam. It's your captain, signing off.